is the season for jam, then fall is the perfect time for fruit butters. Am I right, Deb?
You are 1000% right.
To celebrate fall, we are in the kitchen and we're going to be making pumpkin butter with tons of spice and an apple butter with cranberries. And when I say we, as always, I mean mostly Debbie.
Actually, I'm going to have you do it all.
Okay,
I'm just going to tell you what to do. I love fruit butters and apple butter and pumpkin butter.
Yes.
It really reminds me of growing up in Virginia and growing up in the South. And there was one year we took the show to Dollywood and actually made these fruit butters there with the women at Dollywood, and it was one of my favorite moments ever.
Were they wearing aprons like mine today?
No, they weren't quite as festive as you, so I'm very excited about this.
I feel ready.
So you want to make the pumpkin butter first?
Let's do it. Let's go with pumpkin butter.
All right, it starts with pureed pumpkin. Now you can just use the pureed pumpkin from the can.
Okay.
Go ahead and put this in your saucepan here. And if you want to use fresh pumpkin, you can do that as well. You take a sugar pie pumpkin, slice it in half, and roast it in the oven for about 60 minutes or so. You take all the flesh out, and then put that through a food processor, and then put it in the saucepan, just like this. Now, I'm going to sweeten it with maple syrup as opposed to sugar, right?
Because I'm Canadian.
Because you're Canadian, and I felt your people would appreciate that. A little bit of lemon juice.
Okay, great. Am I mixing this up as I'm talking?
You are mixing up perfectly.
Of course I am.
A little bit of clove. Okay. Ground clove.
I was going to guess that was
ground allspice. And cinnamon.
Very nice.
There you go.
Good.
A touch of salt.
Great.
There you go.
Very good.
And you pour a little bit of water in there.
Thanks for cleaning up for me.
You are welcome. I'll get this little splatter.
And now...
Pour a little bit of water. And then I'm going to also sweeten it with some raisins. Okay. It's as simple as that, you guys. It's very simple. And
nature's candy, Deb.
Nature's candy. It's so delicious. Now, this looks kind of loose, as you can see. Yeah. It will thicken up on the stovetop. So you want to put it on the heat. Okay. And bring it to a boil pretty quickly. Gotcha. Then do we strain it after it's kind of done, or? No, you want to bring it to a boil, and then you want to turn it down, because if you keep it boiling, it'll splatter and sputter, and all these things will go all over. You don't want that because it's very thick. That's why I'm wearing the apron. There you go, and I am not, so we don't want that all over. So you're not going to strain it because you want the sweetness from the raisins, and the raisins are going to plump up, and it will eventually, after about 20 minutes, become this dark color. Great. So how are we going to get it from there into the butter? Exactly, and not chunky. You're going to use an immersion blender. This guy's for right here. So you're going to want it to cool down before you actually do this, though, again, because you don't want it to splatter. Can I actually do this for real? You can do it now because it's cool. Great, very good. Is it going to spurt? No, oh, there we go. By definition, an immersion blender, you immerse it into the, see how it's
Why do they call it an immersion blender?
Well, see, it's immersed.
Fantastic, I did it.
Pretty quickly. You'd keep doing it just a little bit more.
By the way, I did get a little bit on myself. Thank goodness for the apron.
That's right. And then you come over here and you put it in a nice mason jar. Anything you have, any sort of ramekins, any jars you have at home, put it in the refrigerator. Isn't that delicious? Really, really delicious. And all natural sugars. It tastes like fall. You know what I mean? That flavor is so fall. It tastes like Dollywood to me. It tastes like Dollywood or fall. It would last a month. And then the same technique, the same idea for the apple butter, which people are most used to seeing, I think, in the South and all over. Apple butter actually has cranberries in it as well. So you do the same sort of thing, and you would use a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of brown sugar, and you would use the immersion blender again if you wanted, or a food processor, same sort of thing. How good is that? Let's see. And this you could put on just about anything. It's really, really good. So good. I think some people are under the misconception that butter is actually in these fruit butters. There's no butter in it. It's more like an applesauce. I was like, oh, that sounds great, but I don't have a lot of dairy. Well, guess what? I'm okay. So here we are spooning these fantastic fruit butters, but there's other ways that we could have them. We could have them on bread, of course, which is what we're used to, but you have some nice creative ways to use both of these. Well, the pumpkin butter first. The pumpkin butter, I feel like for cold fall mornings, or winter mornings, how good would this be? Is that too much? No, it's never too much. On some delicious oatmeal. And then you could put some walnuts on the top of that, or some almonds, or for you, flaxseed oil, or MCT oil, or walnuts are great. I'm with you. Had me at walnuts. Too. And then for the apple cranberry butter, you put it on a sandwich, a turkey sandwich. Do you ever see those around the holidays? I do. Where they put it on turkey sandwiches? Absolutely. It's delicious. Instead of cranberry sauce, you put apple butter. We are eating well today. And this is pretty good for you. You know what I mean? There's very little, there's a little bit of brown sugar. The sweetness is coming from maple syrup, and raisins. And this is these are real food, great spices, tastes like fall. Deb, you've done it again. And I have to be honest, you don't have to put it on anything. You could just eat it straight out of the jar. You go ahead. And that's what I'm going to do. Have some pumpkin butter there, Deb. If you want to celebrate fall with us, make sure to grab the recipes for these harvest fruit butters at hallmarkchannel.com.